Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Just Your Average Fangirl podcast. My name is Jordan.
And I'm Natalie, and we have a lovely little episode for you guys this week. To kick it off, we're going to talk about Loki, the new series, which I believe the first episode aired last Wednesday. And I really like it so far. So, Jordan, do you want to tell us what you think about it so far, too?
Yeah, spoilers, by the way, for the first episode of Loki. We're going to talk about episodes 2 and 3 next week, so if you don't want to be spoiled for that. But Loki is the newest Marvel show. Just to give a brief synopsis. It takes place sort of after the events of Endgame, where it's Loki in the past who picks up the Tesseract, and the TVA, the TVA,
Yeah,
TMA, TVA.
TVA.
Okay, so they pick up, they find Loki and capture him as a variant because he went off script of the timeline, and their job, TVA's job, is to keep the timeline intact. So there are a bunch of multiverses and timelines getting out of whack. So one of the agents, played by Owen Wilson, named Agent Mobius, I believe, he tries to talk with Loki, and yeah, and it's a sort of about Loki trying to escape this place, but also trying to get in touch with himself sort of along the way. And there's this new sort of mysterious threat blooming for the TVA. And that's sort of the basic plot of the at least the setup for the show. And yeah, I think it's definitely an intriguing setup. I mean, I've been a big Loki fan for a while. I think Tom Hiddleston is so charismatic as this character. He's just one of those villains where you just can't. I don't know. To me, you just can't hate him, and he's just sort of he's such just an interesting type of character in general. Kind of like a Zuko, I guess you could say, where he's always flip-flopping back and forth between sides. And he reminds me, I'm going to talk about this later, of a character in Battlestar Galactica where he's very opportunistic, and he wants to rule Asgard. He's very mischievous, as he is the God of Mischief. So I think it's so, but in Infinity War, he met his demise just as he was sort of becoming good and actually doing something good for once. And so I don't know, that made me really sad because I really started to love his character growth, especially in Ragnarok. So it was really cool to see him here after the events of the first Avengers, where he lost, and he still believes, oh, I'm going to rule the Earth someday, and then the 9 realms, and it's like we see him, and one of the best scenes to me in the episode was when he basically watches through what's going to happen in his life, and he sees him killing his mother, and it's just such good acting from Tom Hiddleston's part as well. And then he sees him bonding with Thor, and then he sees his death, and then he realizes, oh, I'm not destined for a glorious purpose. And he realizes he doesn't actually enjoy killing people. It's just sort of a front to make him seem powerful, and it's just this really great moment of vulnerability for the character, and we see what he could have eventually become if he hadn't died in Infinity War. So that's what I'll leave off with. Natalie, if you would like to give your thoughts.
Yeah, I really, really like the show so far. I definitely think I prefer WandaVision over this one, just because WandaVision is more my aesthetic and style, and I both really love those characters. But Loki is also another one of my favorite characters in the MCU. And honestly, when I first watched the episode, I felt that it was just awkward in a way to see Loki for such an extended period of time. There we go. And I don't. In my head, I just see him as Tom Hiddleston, which is weird because, of course, that's not who he's supposed to be. He's supposed to be Loki, of course, and it's weird. I'm trying to not say too much because the new episode is fresh in my head, so I'm gonna be a little bit hesitant on what I say. But
I promise I'll watch it tonight.
good. But oh, it's so good. I really like the pacing of the show so far. They are giving us a lot to think about and a lot to work with without over exposing everything or getting too ahead of themselves and just leaving us to be hungry still for things. And for the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I felt that it was very very scarce at first. It felt that they were not giving us that much. We didn't really know what was going on, and then all of a sudden everything happened at the end. So far right now, I feel like it is the perfect combination of pacing, a bit of WandaVision pacing with a bit of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier pacing. So they got it just right, like the three little bears or whatever. Yeah, it's really, really good. And in my head, I'm just thinking about the newest episode, and they're doing such a good job with this show. It's definitely the best production quality wise and plot wise too. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of Owen Wilson, but I really like him in this. I don't know. In my head, I don't take him very seriously as an actor because I feel like he tends to do more comedy things. And the first thing that comes to mind is The Night at the Museum. So when I first saw that he was in this, I was like, interesting choice. I don't know if that would be my first pick for someone to play this, but I think he is the perfect casting choice for this. And it's weird. I casting and things is so important, and whoever does cast the MCU characters, they do such a good job. Of course, it's different casting agents, I assume, but they have never missed so far, not off the top of my head. And that is such a hard and rare thing to do. And they're just doing such a good job. And all these characters feel like the comic book characters and look like the comic book characters and just have this nice presence to them, which is crazy because I was talking about this with my dad the other day about how different the actor is from the character. And we were talking about specifically Sebastian Stan, of course. And I showed him some interview with Sebastian, and my dad was like, that's not the Winter Soldier. That can't be. No, I don't believe it. Like, that is just a different person completely. And I'm like, that's literally what acting is. Like, it's just different.
Yeah.
And I think it's so cool. And I just really admire that choice of casting him. I wouldn't expect to love it so much, but I do, and he has great chemistry with Tom Hiddleston, and oh my god, it's a really good show. And what they're setting up right now is super good as well. I'm really interested in what they're gonna do with this and how they're gonna take it, and how Loki's character is gonna progress even more, because you can see how he's battling with himself inside. What you said about when he realized that he was the one who killed his mother. That is such it's creating a different Loki as it is. And I think it's definitely taking a step quicker into the direction of the Thor Ragnarok Loki, or just the better Loki and the better version of himself. I don't want to say too much as well, but that's all I'm gonna say. But yeah, and I love the world that they created. The aesthetic of the TVA is so cool. I remember at one point Loki's like, this place isn't real, or he's just kind of dumbfounded by how beautiful it is, and that's how I feel when I watch it too. So I really admire that. Any other thoughts? Anything to add?
Yeah, just a couple brief thoughts. So with the aesthetic of the TVA, I thought it was very interesting how very 50s-esque it was. Like even with the Miss Minutes video and the office workers wearing the sort of buttoned up shirts. I forget exactly what it's called, but the sort of how it's all very yellow and stuff. I thought that was very interesting. I thought the speaking of the Miss Minutes video, that was also very interesting as well. And it makes me, I don't want to get too into theories because that's what kind of butchered WandaVision a bit for a lot of people.
Really?
But, well, just the sort of all the hype of, oh my God, they're going to introduce this and this and this. But I do have a feeling that this show might be sort of setting up the idea of the multiverse, just with the idea, because we know that now there's only one timeline. And, and the idea that when it branches off, that's when chaos sort of ensues. So that's what I'm sort of thinking. And also that one of the Time Lords or Time Keepers kind of looks like this one villain called Kang the Conqueror, who I used to watch. I remember he was in a couple episodes in Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes. And he's sort of this time traveling villain. So I don't know, just someone like it was like just something on the internet I saw that may or may not be relevant. I don't want to get back into the whole what was it, Morbius? Mephisto. I don't want to get into the whole Mephisto thing again, so I don't want to spread lies, but I just thought that was an interesting what was also interesting I want to briefly mention is the is with the when they're in France, like old France, and Owen Wilson asks this little girl who did this, and she points to this sort of devilish looking creature with horns. And at the very end of the episode, Loki asks, "Who is the villain?" And Owen Wilson says, "It's you." And we see the villain. We don't actually see the villain. He just has a hood up, and he's wreaking, and he's burning alive some of these TVAs, or TVA hunters, I think that's what they're called. And yeah, it's very it definitely sets up an interesting mystery of, is this really Loki? Is this sort of an alternate universe Loki? Is this another Loki variant? Is it even Loki? Like it just sets up a lot of interesting possibilities. There's also, I think, the interesting idea of Loki navigating the TVA without having the ability to use magic in it. I think that could maybe set up some fun things, and him trying to work with the TVA or maybe possibly betray them. There's just a lot of interesting things I think this this series premiere sets up. So I'm definitely excited to watch the next couple episodes.
Yeah, real quick, what you were saying about that, the last idea of like who the mystery figure is, you get to find that out soon enough. But this show is so cool, and it's weird. So I'm thinking of, when I was watching the last episode, there's a lot of clips from the last episode in the trailers and previews, and it's so interesting to see what moments they choose for the trailer, and like little snippets of kind of, what's it called? I don't know what it's called, but it's like you're promoting the show. So teasers, there we go. Trailers and teasers. And it's weird because they chose a lot from the first 2 episodes. And a part of me makes, I mean, I guess this is probably 100% is not true, but I feel like they're still filming in a way, or there's something still more coming from the series, because I don't know, there's like a lot of stuff from the first 2 episodes. And I was wondering why they chose to do that. But also I looked up the what's it called? Kang the Conqueror, and there's a lot of stuff on that already. And it also reminded me, like, I completely forgot about other parts in the trailers and teasers that were of images we get to see Loki as. And honestly, I have no clue where they're going to take the series now that I'm reminded of those photos and everything.
Yeah.
And I am just really excited. This one I'm so much more excited for. For WandaVision, I came into watching that a little bit later, so there was a bunch of episodes I had to catch up on, and then I started watching it. And I also hadn't watched all the Marvel movies before I started watching WandaVision. I watched it when I was closer to the end of WandaVision. So that's when I became really invested and a really big fan of it all, and got into the juice of everything and the fan theories. And then for The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I really liked it because I was, of course, in love with Sebastian Stan, but they weren't giving us enough. There was something lacking from the show, and the pacing was all weird. But for this, not only am I now invested in all these characters and I'm in love with Tom Hiddleston, but great pacing. They're giving us a lot of juice and beef. I love it. It's so good. Oh, it's so good.
It's very interesting what you said, looking back at, I'm assuming the teaser or the trailer for the show, that it borrows a lot from the first 2 episodes. So yeah, I'm very curious if there's a lot more to come that's different, if they just wanted to use it because they're just promoting the first 2 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's very interesting. Do you have any more thoughts, or
I don't know if I want to say this. On the safe side, I won't say anything just in case it's like a spoiler or anything.
I guess maybe I could say, so you mentioned briefly that the villain is sort of explained a bit. So do you think the second episode continues on the intriguing plot line and also leaves it up to, okay.
Very much so. It ends on a cliffhanger, just saying. But they're doing such a good job, and they're making you really like Loki. I mean, of course, everyone already loved him. It's weird. Going back to what I was saying before about how it feels weird to see so much of Loki for such a long time. It it kind of like it confuses me to say because I don't really understand his character. I mean, I have a point of view where I do understand his character and I do understand everything he's coming from. But as himself, I don't know if I can explain this right. So I understand who he is and how he became to be who he is with all of this trauma and all this emotional kind of destruction in him. And you can see that in the first episode when he's watching back all these videos and memories of himself and he's starting to realize all these things. You see him as that, but in all the other films so far, you see him as this God of Mischief and trickster. And with this, you just see him constantly going back and forth in his head. And
So it's a little jarring, would you say?
It's a little bit jarring, but it feels right. Like it feels like, yes, this is Loki, and you can understand that. But it also feels like, is this Loki? Not in a way where it's like, oh, it's not actually Loki. It just feels like, God, I don't know how to explain it properly without just sounding like I'm insane. I can't tell if it's just because we haven't seen that much of him for such an extended period of time, or we just don't know enough of him yet, but there's a lot coming from him. And I think it's also Tom Hiddleston is doing a great job of portraying him and giving all these emotional expressions. But it also, oh, I know what I'm trying to say. No, I can't say it though.
I think
relating to okay.
Maybe this would help because I think for me watching it, because at least for me, I'm always so used to either seeing him, revel in being so evil or playing off of somebody. For example, Thor, most of the time, or even interacting. He's always like playing off of someone. So to see him front and center, it's just kind of like it's interesting. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. And in addition to that, it's weird to see him not necessarily being caught or being sought after or being in trouble. It's interesting to see him in a neutral state. That's the biggest thing. There's nothing crazy really going on, and people are actually talking to him and not yelling at him in a way or not fighting him. And it's weird that way because this is what he's like as a person. You're finally getting to see that and getting to know him. Also, I don't know why this is getting me really excited for Thor: Love and Thunder. Oh my god, I hope he's in that. Honestly, I need to look up the cast real quick.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm excited because I know that I think Jane Foster becomes like, I don't want to say Thor, but she gains some of his powers, or I don't know, because I've just never really, maybe because I just never really cared for her character, if I'm being honest. So I don't know if it's them just being, yeah, like I think I saw the first Thor movie forever ago. In Thor Ragnarok, they're just like, oh, we broke up. Like, so I don't know. I have mixed feelings about that. I think Natalie Portman's a great actress. I'm like, I don't know, like I care more about Thor than Jane Foster becoming powerful,
Yeah. Okay, real quick, I just looked up the cast for this. First of all, it doesn't seem like Tom Hiddleston is in it, and that's bogus, I think. The cast of Guardians of the Galaxy is in it. So I didn't know that. I guess I wasn't in the loop with that. But also Christian Bale's in it. I know I've mentioned that before, but I'm really excited for that.
Yeah, Howl's Moving Castle.
I love him. Oh, he's so talented. But yeah, it says Natalie Portman as Jane Foster / Mighty Thor. I'm excited for that in a way because I just want more powerful female characters in the MCU. I get what you're saying about Jane Foster. I didn't really like your character. I thought she was really annoying for the most part. But maybe she'll get better. Maybe she'll change. Yeah. Maybe she'll become worthy. And then that will change her.
Does it say if Taika Waititi's directing? Because if he is, I think I would have a little bit more faith, just because, like, I really liked what he did with Valkyrie, for example. I thought She was a great character. I thought Hera was a fantastic villain. So I think with him, I'm hesitant but hopeful, especially with Taika Waititi directing, just because I think, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but Jojo Rabbit was probably one of my top 5 favorite movies of 2019. I just love him as a director, so I'm definitely, like, as I said, I'm hesitant, but I'm I'm going in with, I know this is very contradictory, but open-minded, if that makes sense.
Yeah, he is Taika is directing it, and he also co-wrote it. So I think it's gonna be good. I really admire him as a director and just all around as a person, even though sometimes he can be a little but
He's very just like, I'll just say what I want.
no filter at all, and I love that, but sometimes he's walking the line.
Oh, Taika.
Yeah, but he's so talented. It makes me so mad. He has not missed. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you saw the vampire series, What We Do in the Dark, I think it's called.
I haven't not.
It's not my favorite. It's funny, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of good moments, but for the most part, it's a little bit boring. Have you ever seen Portlandia?
No. I also haven't seen Hunt for the Wild. What's it called? Hunt for the Wilder People. I saw that on my list.
I have not seen that one. Um, Anyways, yeah, it's this vampire TV show, and if you haven't seen Portlandia, and if you have, with Fred Armisen, it's a lot similar. Has a very similar comedy style to it. Kind of bland, but also poking fun at the bland, and it's very dry, weird humor. I liked the first couple of episodes, but then it got boring pretty quickly. I heard a lot of people really like it, but I don't know. I think I might have to watch more of it to really get a good judgment on it. But,
I think Taika Waititi directed the movie What We Do in Shadows, which I heard which may or may not be a little bit better. I don't know.
What We Do in the Shadows, I thought that is a documentary. I watched the TV. No, yeah, it's a mockumentary, so it's 2 seasons. It's a TV show. It has one of my favorite actors in it. But
yeah. So if we're ready to move on, I could talk just a tiny bit about Battlestar Galactica because I'm on episode 14 of season 3. I know what you all are thinking. I'm so slow at watching things, and I know that. I'll just talk very briefly. There's actually this one character that kind of gives me Loki vibes a little bit. He's not as for me lovable as Loki is, but he's a very interesting character. The character's also British. He also has like sort of longish, like my length hair, kind of like Loki. He's very opportunistic, I would say. Like he's very oh, I'll go to this side now, and no, I'll go to this side. Which is he's a very compelling character, even though I'm more in love with Tom Hiddleston.
Real quick, what's the name of this character? Because I want to look see what
Gaius Baltar. Yeah, he's a very compelling character. I will say that. Like he's one of those characters where whereas just Loki, I just love Loki, but with this character, I just love to hate him, but he's a very interesting character. Yeah, he's done some very bad things. Some of it, he's very, just trying to avoid, snake around, getting arrested or getting in trouble. He's a very compelling, that's the character that's kind of giving me, especially as of late. And he's like, he thinks, this is a mild spoiler maybe, but he thinks, I'm the chosen one. I'm destined for something greater, kind of like Loki. So it's very interesting. So I'm definitely curious where his character arc is going. It's also very interesting. I don't know. I'll give a brief not spoiler warning, just mild plot. It's not really a spoiler, but so it's revealed in the pilot, the mini series as it's called, that there are 12 human-looking Cylon models, and so far we've met 7 of them, but it's been revealed as of late but we don't know who as they're called, the final five are. We don't know. It doesn't even seem like the Cylon models themselves, the 7 Cylon models that we know of, know who the final five are. So it's this big mystery, like, who are the final five? And I'm not gonna lie, I think season 3 is my favorite season so far. It's just like so interesting. It starts out so interesting. It just keeps going. You're learning more. I mentioned with the final five, it has such a great first couple episodes that sort of ignite the conflict. There's some great character drama, specifically with 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 um with I don't want to say with Kilo number 8, Starbuck, who's my favorite character in the show, and Lee and Admiral and Lee's father, who is the commander of the Galactica. There's just so many interesting things happening that I think it definitely makes it my favorite season so far, and especially with the sort of mystery, like, who are the final five? And you almost see them, but you don't. And it's like, you want to know who they are. Like, and I'm just, as a viewer who doesn't know, I'm just so nervous. Like, oh my God, are my favorite characters going to be one of the final five? Like, I'm just so scared. Because yeah, the Cylons are very interesting. Like, I don't want to give more to that, but you're not quite sure how to feel about some of them, especially during the season. They make the Cylons a lot more complex rather than just evil robots who want to destroy humanity. So yeah, I just want to get my brief thoughts, but I think so far season 3 is definitely my favorite. I'm hoping by the season finale they'll reveal at least a couple of the final five. But yeah, it's a very intriguing season so far, and I'm excited to see how it ends.
So oh gosh, sorry.
Oh, you're good.
You're several seasons in already. How do you think the pacing is so far? Is it pretty good, consistent pacing, or does it get rushed at some bits, or is it too slow at some parts?
I'd say it's pretty good pacing. It's very interesting because so many of the shows that I've watched have been anime, which are usually so, like, the episodes are just like not like but 22 minutes. So I'm sitting there, oh, I have to know what happens next, and then I just so anime's been very fast paced. It's very well paced that I've watched. And I've watched a lot of shows that have been designed for streaming services, which are, I guess you could say, or released on a weekly basis, which are, you don't end with that cliffhanger, and usually feel like a very continuous story, but sort of broken up, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of shows nowadays are sort of designed that way, but Battlestar Galactica came out in 2004, I believe. So it's designed to sort of be that week by week basis where each episode's like 43 minutes, and it's a part of that great, it's kind of like Avatar: The Last Airbender in that way, where each episode is kind of its own contained little story, but in a greater story. So I think that's why for me, it's like not hard. It's not hard per se, but that's why I can't really binge it so far, and I'm not sitting there and I have to watch the next episode. Like, I'll watch an episode, I'll be satisfied for the day. But I would say, to put a long story short, I've been rambling, but I think overall the pacing's been very good. I thought season 1 was paced very well. Season 2, for about 2/3 of it, I would say were paced well. I think before the last 3 episodes, there's like a good chunk where it was kind of just like, okay, let's get on with it. It was more sort of character. It was just very little. I don't know how to explain it. I think because there was also this sort of relationship that was blooming that I just didn't really care for. Just kind of happened. And I was just like, and there were just these 2 other characters, and I just didn't really feel the chemistry.
Yeah.
So there's just this little chunk where it just felt I just wasn't as invested. I was just kind of like, okay, I get it. We're just sort of seeing, they were very interesting ideas. You know, I don't want to say they were bad episodes. It's just from me, I just kind of found myself getting a little checked out at times. It just didn't have the same urgency as I think, for example, the first season had, or at the beginning, the first two third. And this is like I'm talking about like maybe 5 episodes where I was just kind of bored. Where it didn't have the same urgency as the beginning of season 2 had, or especially the beginning of season 3. And as it's sort of coming up now, the character drama I think in season 3 is more interesting.
Yeah.
So I would say a good 80% had very good pacing.
Nice. Do you have any other comments on this series?
Starbuck is the best character. That's all I will say. I love her so much. She's like my favorite. I really love Sharon as well. She's a very cool, if anyone out there watching knows of those characters. And Tyrell is a very underrated character. I will say that. I love him so much. But yeah, I think it's I'm really enjoying it so far. I'm excited to see how season 3 ends. I'll probably take a little break before I start season 4. So I feel like I've been talking for a while. So do you want to maybe move on to Bo Burnham's Inside?
I love listening to you talk, and I'm curious to see what so real quick, Jordan saw In the Heights in the movies in person the other day, and I want to hear what your experience was like seeing a movie in person first. We can chat a little bit about that, and then I want you to talk about In the Heights, because I honestly don't know a single thing about In the Heights. I don't think I've heard any of the music except for the previews I get on YouTube. But so yeah, how was your experience? How was it like seeing a movie in the theater after so long?
Yeah, so it was very interesting. It was very cool, especially for a movie, because it's a little bit of a longer movie. I think it's about 2.5 hours. And this sounds so bad, but I've gotten so used to pausing movies and breaking up when I watch things. So to sit down, I thought the movie was very well paced considering that. I didn't really feel that it dragged or anything. You know, I was entertained the whole way through. But yeah, it was really fun. I went with my sister, who recently became a huge fan of Lin-Manuel Miranda because of Hamilton on Disney Plus. She recently got into that, so when she saw it In the Heights was coming out, you know, she wanted to see it with me, so we made a whole event out of it. We went out, we ate lunch at the mall, and yeah, we saw it in a movie theater. It was very cool. It was very interesting, especially in I forgot what it's like to sort of feed off of each other's laughter and energy, because there were a couple of moments where there were a couple of comedic moments, and you know, people in the theater would laugh, or yeah, so it was really cool that way. Or then there was a sort of sadder moment. You could sort of feel the energy and watch it on the big screen instead of my laptop. So yeah, it was really fun. I thought it was a really good movie to watch in theaters, because of the sort of, yeah, it's a musical, so some from the sort of bombastic nature of that. But overall, I really enjoyed this movie. I thought it was such a delight, and it just made you want to go to Washington Heights. There's this fantastic sequence for the song called 96,000, and it was shot in a pool, and there was just such great choreography, and the cinematography I thought was also really great. Yeah, it had so much energy to it. I thought Anthony Ramos was so charming as Usnavi. I forget his name, but the boy who played Sonny in The Heights. I'm just looking it up quickly. The kid who played Sonny was really good. I thought he was a standout character. I really also liked the cast. Just looking at the cast. Gregory Diaz, I believe that's the 4th. I don't know what Ivy is.
I think that's the 4th.
Yeah.
Or the 9th.
Yes.
More likely though.
I thought he was great. I really liked Stephanie Beatrice. Who else was it? Daphne Rubin Vega, and there was one other person. I forget who. Maybe it was Daska Polanco, the three nail salon ladies. I thought they were a very fun duo. I liked their song. Yeah, each of the songs had sort of a unique touch to it. For example, 96,000 was in the pool. In the opening number, you see Usnavi sort of directing towards the audience, introducing everyone. There was this one cool sequence where they sort of drew out things that they wanted. I think that was a part of 96,000. There was the hair salon scene, which was really fun. There was Paciencia y Fe, which was a great number. Yeah, I thought the director, what's his name? I should have really looked it up before. John M. Chu, I believe it's pronounced, who directed, among other things, Crazy Rich Asians, which I never saw, but I thought he did a great job with the world, with the cinematography, with the energy. I think there were maybe I'm like looking at this because, like Natalie, I wasn't really that familiar with the story going into it. I think there were really two things that I feel like Nina and Benny, even though they're I thought they did a great job acting. I thought they were both very good. I just felt their story was a little too disconnected from Usnavi and Vanessa. Where I don't know, because I think like Nina especially provided a good antithesis to Snavi, so I wish those characters would have interacted more. I just felt like there wasn't enough there, and there was enough conflict. I wasn't really invested in their relationship either. Like it just sort of there didn't really feel that many obstacles to them getting together. Sort of what I was talking about with Dirty Dancing. I think I just wish there was more conflict, but that forced them away apart from each other rather than I don't even remember what the conflict was. So yeah, I feel like I feel like Nina's characters, especially her story, was very interesting. And I think Benny's story had the potential to be interesting, but there just wasn't enough there. And I felt the emotional beats with their stories just kind of fell a little flat. Like even like I think Vanessa's story, even though I think the actress wasn't quite as I feel like her story wasn't quite as interesting as Nina's story. I felt like there was still more there was still more there because she was more, I guess there's still more there, and because she was so connected with Usnavi, who is a character that we as the audience really care about. Yeah, I just felt like Nina's story was so interesting. I just wish there was more to it, if that makes sense. And especially Benny, I feel like there was more to I wish there was just in general more to his story. He just kind of was there and he liked Nina, and that was about it. He kind of had this conflict with his job, but that just kind of gets resolved very quickly. But overall, I really enjoyed this movie. I thought it was every single number was so fun. The choreography was great. I thought for the most part, all the actors did so good. I loved Anthony Ramos. Olga Merides, I believe it's pronounced, was so great as Abuela Claudia. So overall, I'd say it's about a 7.5 out of 10, I would say. I'm teetering like in between a 7 and an 8. I think I would go right down the middle. I thought it was a joy. I just like in a musical, I could see that sort of working better, if that makes sense. You know, you have all these different characters, you know, going, and you know, they come in, they do their thing, and then they leave. Like in a musical, I can definitely see that working more, but in a movie, it just felt a little too disconnected, if that makes sense. So yeah, I think yeah, that's my thoughts on In the Heights. I thought it was a very delightful, feel good. Well, not feel good, but it was a very delightful movie that really, I think, captured the spirit of In the Heights.
Going back into two little ideas, I guess, mixing in with the liveness of the audience and just responding off of each other, and the fact that it was a musical movie. How does this compare to seeing a live show? Is it kind of fulfilling your need of seeing a live performance, or is it more just not quite there and more of just fulfilling the need of seeing a movie rather than a live performance? If that makes any sense.
Yes, it does. I think there are two things. I think the movie did a great job with the comedic beats a lot, which I feel that sort of was similar to. I think the one thing was I was missing was I noticed this especially in the opening, which is big, bombastic, amazing opening song, and then I also want to mention I thought the framing device was really interesting. I won't say anything else, but I thought that was really interesting. And you have the big, and then boom, it cuts the title screen, and it's kind of that thing where in a live musical you would want to applaud, but here it starts to applaud, no one else is, and then the movie continues. So I think that sort of aspect is something you don't really get from a movie as compared to a live performance or a live musical, if that makes sense. That sort of energy of everyone applauds, or if that makes sense,
Yeah,
sort of those dramatic beats or pause it, if that makes sense.
mm-hmm.
So I do think it more geared towards my wish to see a movie rather than a live stage performance. But yeah, it's a very interesting question.
Also, do you like In the Heights more than Hamilton, or do you like Hamilton more?
I've right now my heart tells me Hamilton. I don't know if it's a combination of it was the one I was first exposed to.
Yeah.
I've also listened to the songs a lot more, whereas this is my first experience with In the Heights outside of maybe like 3 or 4 songs. So yeah, I think as of now, I would say Hamilton. But yeah, I think both musicals have their strengths and their weaknesses. I just think Hamilton for me was a little I'm more familiar with it. I think it has a lot of great memorable moments. This does too, but I think between the two, maybe like I said, maybe it's just because more exposure. So, but I think my heart is telling me Hamilton. Yeah.
Awesome. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'll have to check it out. I know a lot of people really like In the Heights, but I just have not had the time to check it out. But I'll try to see the movie because I know a lot of people really liked it. Well, yeah. Do you want to move on to talking about Inside, Bo Burnham's new Netflix special?
I just want to briefly mention, this short film I saw. I don't know why I'm mentioning it. I was watching YouTube and then this channel recommended it. It's on Hulu. It's called The Hug. It's 5 minutes. It's just I thought if any of our listeners like looking for any good short films to watch, if you just want something quick and easy to watch before you go to sleep or whatever, which is what I did with this short. Yeah, the basic premise is there's this bratty little kid. It's his birthday, and he wants the panda, the sort of animatronic Chuck E. Cheese-esque mascot to perform for him. But one of the managers is like, no, it's his lunch break. He can't perform. But the kid, being a little snot, it steals the keys and turns on the machine. And let's say you don't want to disrupt him in his lunch break, even though he's a robot. So it's a fun little horror-esque short. It kind of has some Five Nights at Freddy's vibes, I would say. But yeah, The Hug, it's on Hulu. It's just a cute little recommendation. But yeah, Natalie, if
I'll check that out. Okay. So, Bo Burnham's new special, Inside. real quick, have you not seen any of other specials from Bo Burnham? Is this your first time?
It's my first time.
Wow. Okay. So interesting way to be started off with Bo Burnham. This is not like his other specials, real quick. Also, I don't know if you know this already, but Bo Burnham directed and wrote a film a few years ago called Eighth Grade, and he was in Promising Young Women, I believe.
I think I know that, yeah.
Yeah, but Eighth Grade was really good. I thought he did a great job with that. And it's interesting because the story is taking place from like a teenage girl's perspective. And as a man writing that, I would not expect it to be that kind of accurate and good in a way. I really liked it. I thought it was such a good movie. And I watched it when I was a freshman in high school too. So I was like, hey, that's relatable. Anyways, Bo Burnham's new special. I thought it was so brilliant. I honestly think he's a genius. I really, really do. And I'm not just saying that because I have a little bit of a crush on him, but I really connect with his work and I really see what he's trying to say through his work a lot. And also in this piece, the cinematography is beautiful. I think it is shot so well and he adds in little things that I think is so smart and creates the exact tone that I believe he's going for. And oh, it's really good. I watched it. I've watched it once, but I've watched several parts of it multiple times, and I'm more than glad that they finally added the music to YouTube and Spotify because I for the past few days, like the days after watching it for the first time, Netflix had takes down every single video of a song that was posted on it, so it was impossible to watch any of the songs on repeat without it being taken down because Netflix was a stickler on that. And they also haven't posted the songs from his last show on Spotify, and I'm not sure why exactly. But anyways, back on track to this, I think it is so beautifully done. It takes place in his home, of course, and it is shot through the entirety of quarantine. He first got the idea of doing the show after taking a 5-year hiatus from comedy. He took a nice 5-year little break because doing comedy on stage had beginning to give him a lot of panic attacks, and he just didn't want to put himself through that stress anymore, and he couldn't really handle it all. And after 5 years, he was like, you know what? I'm finally ready to go into the public. And of course, quarantine happens. And basically, this is his journey, kind of getting to see his journey through quarantine and how he's feeling through it and how he's struggling. And it gets to the point where the last moment in the show, spoilers, I guess, technically, is he's going outside. And oh my God, I think it is so beautiful. I was talking to a few of my friends about this because we had very different interpretations of the ending of the show. They thought it was a sad ending, and they thought it was more of he's stuck outside. He doesn't really want to be back, and he doesn't really want to be back with comedy or just be out there again, but he is, and he's trapped. But I thought it more as so much more hopeful. And there's this song that is played technically twice throughout the thing where it's like, well, look who's inside again. Went out to look for a reason to hide again. Which is it's one of my favorite songs in the show, just to say. And I think it is a really beautiful moment because he sees, I'm reading so much into this, but he sees a reason to go back inside again, but he's stuck outside technically. And this moment, this ending moment is very in contrast to the rest of the show because it is complete, pure, bright light. And it's very vibrant. And of course, he's vulnerable throughout the whole show, but this time there's nothing really cluttered around him except for his house around him. But he's out in the open, and he's wearing all white. And I think it is a beautiful image that definitely contrasts with the rest of the show, but it's showing that it's showing that he's finally going back into the public again. And I was also talking to my friends about this, and they're like, oh, he doesn't really want to be back. He's like unhappy with this. But he mentions at one point, and he included to add, he purposefully added this in, I guess, that he was like, oh, I'm not gonna finish this because I need to keep working on it. I need to have something to work on, and I this is not gonna ever be finished. I'm not gonna finish it. Blah 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 blah. And he did finish it, and that is showing that he got better and that he can handle not working and he could handle putting himself out there again. And I just think it's really beautiful, and I think his growth as an artist is insane. And this is some of his best work, some of his best quality wise music, quality musical songs. I don't know if that made any sense. And his singing got better too. I just really quick want to point out some of my favorite songs because I've literally been listening to these on repeat endlessly for the past, since honestly, since it came out. I've been finding clips of it on YouTube or replaying the part of it in Netflix. Okay, so favorite songs: Content, which is the first song of the show, How the World Works, let's see, Look Who's Inside Again, the song Shit, sorry if you're saying a bad word, Welcome to the Internet, and That Funny Feeling, and then finally Goodbye. I mean, I love all the songs, but those are my top standout ones. And I also want to mention the moment in the show of the song Unpaid Intern, where he does this little jingle song and then it cuts to him reacting to watching that. And it just goes into a loop where it's him reacting to him reacting. And then it goes to him reacting to him reacting to him reacting. And it is really, it's perfectly done. The way he times everything is very smooth, and it kind of boggles your mind for a second. You're like, oh, how do you do this? Because you had to plan out this and write out all of this first. And he does a really good job. And this is my final last little note of favorite moments in the whole thing, is I love when he plays the video game of himself. He does like the let's play of him in his room crying and like playing the piano. I thought his movements for that was really good. It felt like a video game, and I thought it was hilarious. I honestly could watch an hour of him just acting out a video game and him playing himself. I thought that was hilarious. But those are some of my favorite moments and ideas on the special. All right, take it away. What did you think about it?
So overall, yeah, I thought it was very well made. I thought it was very clever the way he did with the cinematography, and I think his experience on the internet also added a really interesting personal touch. He mentioned the reaction style video, and the when he was sort of a Twitch streamer playing a video game, and he would I think his experience, because I believe he started out as a YouTuber, right? Or so I think.
Real quick little moment / Easter egg in the last song. There's a line where it's like, am I right back where I started 14 years ago? And it's a side angle of him playing piano, and that is the exact angle of his first YouTube video. A stupid little Easter egg that I found that I thought was super clever. All right.
I thought almost all of the songs were very well written, very genius, very clever. Welcome to the Internet being one of my personal favorites. I thought White Woman's Instagram was very funny. It was very fun. A lot of the ones you mentioned were very cool. Another one of my personal favorite comedic moments was at the beginning, where he was sort of doing this interview style where he's talking about, what is your thoughts on racism, bagel bites, and I just thought that was so funny to me, just the sort of brands trying to be it was just such a clever, I thought it was just such a funny clever commentary on brands and stuff when they try to tackle current issues just so you can buy their product. Yeah. It was just so clever. Welcome to the Internet. I thought it was great. The reaction style video was very interesting. I think, I don't know, maybe I had a bit of a different, I thought everything you said was so, I don't want to say accurate, because I think the ending definitely leaves things up to interpretation. I thought overall everything you said about how cleverly made it was totally accurate. I don't know. I just don't know if I personally connected with it as well as it seems that a lot of other people are, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. I don't know how to explain it. There were I felt like it was a special where there were there were a lot of bits that were highlights to me. There were a lot of bits that were just 10 out of 10, great. But then there were just, but not, but then there were other bits where I thought, okay, that was fine. I get what you're doing here. I'm not saying it's bad. It's just, for me, I don't know how to explain it because I feel like I'm sounding so mean because I know so many people love this, and I totally get why. I just don't think I personally had the same connection that it seems that a lot of people having, even though there are so many moments that I just love and totally connect with and relate to. I think overall it was definitely very well made. I think Bo Burnham is a very talented writer, singer, comedian, director. I think this special totally shows that. Maybe it's a combination of me not knowing what to expect going into this. Because when I hear of a Netflix special, I think, oh, and Bo Burnham, I think, oh, it's going to be one of his newest comedy specials. So going into it, it was very maybe jarring for me because it wasn't what I initially expected, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And even as a previous and current Bo Burnham fan myself, I wasn't expecting this at all. A quick little perspective too is, so one of my friends that had watched it had came in with very high expectations, and the other had came in with none, and I also had came in with none because I completely forgot that there was going to be a new special being released, and until I just watched it as soon as I found out, and I didn't even think about it. And my friend that had the high expectations of it, she did not like it, and she just didn't enjoy it because it's completely different from his previous comedy shows and comedy style. And for me, I really liked it because I kind of had the blank slate of like everything in my interpretations and just kind of point of view of Bo Burnham and his work. And I don't know, it felt very real to me, and it felt very connected to Bo. And when you watch his other specials, you can see that there's a little bit of a facade going on, and you can see that he's there personally, but his comedy side is more there. He's putting on an act, as most comedians typically are. But after seeing this, it's clearer. And it's kind of sad in a way, but I just seeing the difference of him. But it's also, you can see him grow up. And just watching, I rewatched his first YouTube video the other day, and he's such a little baby. And it's crazy because he became famous really young. And so he had all of this following him his whole life. And now he's 30 and almost 31, actually. And I honestly, that would stink to be famous so young and then have all that pressure to like keep creating until you're now this age, or until it just like keep creating your whole life. And I feel that really stinks for him. I don't really know what I'm trying to say here, and I don't want to say anything that I don't mean, because at the same time, like, oh yeah, I want to be famous. Not, I don't want to be famous, but it's just like, I'm also saying the most random things right now too. I'm so sorry. I'm just realizing that. But yeah, gosh, his work is also, oh my God, I'm just all over the place right now. I forget what song he sings it in, but is it comedy? Or no, it's Problematic. The song Problematic, where he is basically recounting and just talking about, oh my God, I regret all the stuff I said, I regret all the stuff I did. I'm problematic, I'm learning from it. And I think that's a really good song because yes, he is growing, he's learning, and this is very different from his other work. I definitely think you should watch his other specials. I really enjoy them. I think they're really funny, and he's so much younger in them. It's so weird. It's honestly a completely different person, but not at the same time. And I think that's really beautiful in a way. It sounds so cheesy. I also have the biggest crush on him, so I don't really care. But yeah, also I remember watching his Vines when I was really young, and my sister wouldn't let me watch any of his comedy shows, and she really liked him, and she had his poetry book, Egghead, I believe it's called. And I remember watching his Vines and being like, oh my God, this guy's hilarious. I love him. My sister was like, no, don't watch any of his shows. And I was like, okay. Because they're kind of inappropriate. But when I actually did watch them, I was like, this is a whole new world of comedy for me because I've never seen musical comedy before. And I don't think it's done anywhere else really. I mean, I know Mike Birbiglia has one song that he does in his comedy routine, but other than that, Bo is very unique in this way, and he does a really good job with it, and he does it very naturally. Yeah, that I don't know what that tangent was about necessarily, but yeah, don't know where it landed either. But yeah.
Yeah, so after hearing what you said, yeah, I think for me, it was sort of maybe a combination because, going into this, I think it was a combination of two things. One, because the only comedian I'd really been invested in or really watched a lot of is John Mulaney. So I came into this thinking, oh, this is a new, so I came into it one thinking that it was going to be a new comedy special in a way. So, and I was looking for just something to sort of relax to. And, this was a bunch of vignettes. And then I think it's also maybe a combination after hearing about your friend's reaction, was maybe the hype too. Cause I think because there were people, not a lot of people, but, I heard like, oh, have you seen Bo Burnham's Inside? And it has like almost a 9 out of 10 on IMDb. It has 100% in Rotten Tomatoes. So there was all this hype. And so I think I sort of also went into it with very high expectations. And so that's why I was, I think my feelings on it were, oh, there were a lot of great moments. But I don't think there were other moments where I didn't quite as relate to as much, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So what do you think you would rate it?
Honestly, I think I would give this a 10 out of 10. Just because the songs that I do really enjoy, I enjoy to such an extent. I also have a very obsessive personality sometimes. So when I really like something, I will listen to it on repeat. Like the Well, Well, Look Who's Inside Again song, and especially that little last part when it's all distorted and slow. I think I've listened to that and probably over 4 hours, just like constantly. Like it's only like 5 seconds long, but I've listened to it just on repeat for the past like few days, weeks. I listen to it when I fall. I don't know why I'm really obsessed with the songs right now. Like it hits a part of my brain that's really just it scratches the part of my brain that it needs to be scratched. Um, so I would give it a 10 out of 10. I I don't know if it's my favorite special of his. I wouldn't consider it among one of his specials. I forget, I think Be Happy is my favorite special from him. Let me check real quick. But because this one is just a different thing altogether. I think I don't know what I named Be Happy because oh wait, no, that's not my favorite special. I think it's I don't know. I can't think of the one off the top of my head. But yeah, I give this one a 10 out of 10. Even though his other specials that I do like, I would give lesser scores. But this, I think, was beautifully done cinematography wise and just watching him grow. I think that was a special part of it too. And I genuinely thought it was really funny. My sister hated it. So, and she was a Bo Burnham fan longer than I was, or am. So I thought it was interesting. There's been a lot of very, very different views on this. What do you think you would rate it?
I think it sounds so pretentious, but critically speaking, I would give it probably an 8 out of 10, 8.5 maybe. But I think personally, I think it's closer to a 7 out of 10. I think the highs were very highs, but there were some periods, there were a couple songs where I was just wasn't as interesting to me. I don't know. So I think personally it's more of a 7, but I think critically it's definitely like you were saying, all the creativity, and I think all the songs are all very different, which I think was very cool. Or most of them were. So I think yeah, that's probably it. Definitely makes me intrigued to check out, what was it, Eighth Grade, the film that he directed. I definitely want to see more of his directing side. Maybe check out some of his comedy specials. So yeah, definitely makes me more intrigued to check out some of his other work, especially as a director and writer. I believe he wrote it. Did
Yeah,
he?
I think so. I'm pretty sure.
So yeah, those are our thoughts on Bo Burnham's Inside. Natalie, what do you want to do for next week?
Would you be interested, oh my goodness, in checking out another comedian or no?
I think I would, yes.
Okay, I want you to check out one of my favorite comedians. His name is Mike Birbiglia. Um, Real quick, he's the reason why Cinnamon Toast Crunch is my favorite cereal because he mentions it once in one of his comedy specials, and I was like, man, I should probably like this cereal. It's also a very good cereal. And then I started eating a lot of it, and I became obsessed with it too. Yeah, as you can probably tell by now, I have a very obsessive personality. So when I like things, I hold on to them. But he's one of my favorite comedians, next to John Mulaney and many others. I've gotten to see him in live in person once for his special, a new one, which is him talking about his experience of having a kid. Um, and I think he's a really amazing storyteller. I absolutely adore him. I'm gonna recommend to you. Let me just see what specials he has on Netflix. Um, there's so many good ones. I recommended. I don't know if we can say our friends' names on here. I'm just not gonna say it anymore.
Did you just say first name basis?
Yeah, I recommended it to Vicky a while ago, and she really liked it. Um, let's see, Mike Birbiglia. It's funny because he went to school with John Mulaney and Nick Kroll and all of those people. Um, so they're in that friend group, and I forget when on one of the specials you can hear on Spotify, you can hear John Mulaney introducing him. So I think that's a fun little Easter egg. Um, oh my gosh, I don't know which one to recommend to you. They're all so good. I'll have to rewatch them all and then tell you because I really adore them. One of the ones that I really like, they don't have on here, which they have it on Spotify though, but it's called Sleepwalk with Me. And real quick, it's about him and his struggles with his sleepwalking disorder. And they're very, very extreme. And I recommend you just honestly, no, I can't. There's so many good ones. I'll think about it and pick one for you to watch and or listen to. But I think he does a great job with storytelling. If you want to also recommend something else, because it's fairly short, I don't know how long we could talk about it for. I mean, they're an hour. If we talk about the next two Loki episodes too, would that be a solid episode, or do you want to recommend something else?
I think so. I may not be watching a movie with a friend, so I'll let you know what we choose to watch and maybe if she would want to be on the next episode, who knows. But yeah, so I think I'm just gonna in general watch another movie this weekend. There's a new Pixar movie coming out. Luca.
What is it called?
Luca.
Let's see.
This Friday, so we could also talk about that.
Mm-hmm. I did not know about that.
Oh.
Huh. Jim Gaffigan. My mom loves him. Maya Rudolph. Ooh, cute cast.
Yeah, so I think that the comedy, possibly that, the comedy special in the next two Loki episodes, and possibly another movie. Maybe if you finish or watch more of Hannibal. Yeah, I think that would be a pretty jam-packed episode. So yeah, if you don't want to be spoiled for Mike Birbiglia, or yeah, the new Pixar movies coming out this weekend, so check that out if you're interested. Yeah, we give spoiler warnings to check if you want to watch Loki, the next two episodes of Loki. Also, yeah. So, anything else?
Nothing else, but thank you very much for your time and for listening. Like, subscribe, comment any ideas or any suggestions you have. Once again, thank you for watching. It means a lot to us.
Bye.
Bye.